a little bit about Apu trilogy, restoration, which is what would interest a lot of people. These films were of course shown last year, but you can see that the original negatives were, they were sort of burnt in a fire. In July 1993, there was a fire at Anderson Film Lab in London, and it was, it seems to have started in the nitrate vaults and then spread to the other parts of it. So the fire was bad enough to hit many of Ray films just before the films were being preserved. And luckily, the Academy had all the burned negatives shipped to them. And upon research, they found that 11 reels and negatives of Aprajito existed, as well 9 reels of Pateh Panchali and 2 reels of Apur Shansar. And you can see the kind of work which was done on this, that the frames were literally, were replaced, means in the sprockets were replaced, and months of hard work went on to the repair of this film. The sound was cleaned up, and lots of people flew down. Sharmila Tagore went there, and many people we know that they were constantly being worked upon on each and every part of it. Materials were got from all parts of the world to be able to restore these films. Yeah, next thing. Yeah. And you can see that there was a lot of shake on that particular frame that was stabilized for this famous train sequence. Yeah, I think we can stop there. Yeah. The country has about 10 different film industries, or maybe more now, producing the largest number of films in the world, with 4 major South Indian film industries, which account for 60% of our total production. Interestingly, mega stars of these industries went on to head governments in these states, but did nothing for the cause of preserving their cinematic history. As per the statistics, the Censor Board of 2017, we produced 1,986 feature films in 45 languages. Can you believe it? What a nightmare for the Censor Board. 45 languages. Yet, there is a National Film Archive, and now with the emergence of Film Heritage Foundation, which we are a very smaller archive, there is not a single major archive in this whole country which is so inadequate. Film preservation, according to me, should be taken up on a war footing, with each filmmaking state should have its own archive and the development cost to train film archivists who can take this mission forward and provide viable career opportunities in this field. I want to talk a little bit about Film Heritage Foundation and the foundation, what we set up. I'd just like to take a few minutes. We started the Film Heritage Foundation, as Dr. Singh Gupta said, in 2014, and our objectives was to create urgent need to preserve both filmic and non-filmic material in its original format, to train indigenous resources of film archivists and restorers, and to develop educational programs. We did our first film preservation. This is our board of advisors, brand ambassador. Yeah. Our objectives we have done. So what is the first thing we needed to do was to conduct film preservation workshops. So we did the first one in 2015. We had the support of Scorsese's Film Foundation, and the 7-day intensive workshops, including theory, practical classes covering film identifications, film repair, digital and sound restoration. We've been conducting workshops in Pune, then we did in Chennai, then of course our last workshop was in Calcutta, where you can see some of the images to follow. These are some of our This was the one in Chennai where we conducted. This was the one in Calcutta last year where we were here. You can look at the film repair. Also, we do photographic and paper conservation, which includes related with film, posters. And then we have these awards. This was thanks to Dr. Singh Gupta. We have this wonderful picture of all the great archivists. Impact over the last 4 years, we've introduced now 200 individuals to the best practices of film preservation and restoration, witnessed a change in the attitude of the film industry. Several participants have gone overseas for higher education and applied for jobs at the Film Heritage Foundation or the NFAI. There's a change in the government policy with the start of the National Film Heritage Mission, and we are hoping that state governments like Kerala, Karnataka and West Bengal will start setting up their own archives. We are hopeful. And thanks to Sri Lanka's participation in all our workshops, we have begun a movement not only in Sri Lanka, we are working closely in Nepal to save their film heritage, and we are proud to say that they're on the way to building a new film archive in their countries. The Film Heritage Foundation has a growing collection of non-filmic. We have scripts, posters, lobby cards, song booklets. In our we do poster restoration, our conservators. And this is all in humidity controlled and archival storage facilities. We've developed our own cataloging system. You can see the harmonium that belongs to K.L. Sehgal, the original harmonium given by the family. We are the custodians of materials of P.K. Nair, Kedar Sharma, also who had a connection with Calcutta, A.R. Kardar, J.B.H. Wadia, Sham Benegal, Saeed Mirza, V.K. Murthy, Pran Saab, Kundan Shah, Aruna Raje Patil, and many others. We have a growing collection of films, 35, 16 and 8, which includes films of Mr. Bachchan, Sham Benegal, Govind Rani, Kumar Shani, Vishal Bhardwaj, Mani Ratnam, Buddhadev Das Gupta, Bhim Singh Khurana, and all the names which you can see. We've developed a very unique program for children, which is called Do You Speak Cinema, that teaches them about the evolution of cinema and its unique language. We continuously do these workshops. In fact, when I go back, we are having a workshop on the 4th in Mumbai with kids. We've published 2 books which are very important. One is the first book on film preservation and restoration. It talks about also identifying the most important films, 60 most important films in India which needs urgent restoration. The list was compiled by P.K. Nair and me together, so that list is important. We also took out a book on P.K. Nair's writings called Yesterday's Film for Tomorrow. Our future plan is our next big workshop is in Hyderabad, which is going to take place in December 2019. Anybody interested should apply for that workshop. We're building a new film vault, expansion of our non-film archive, and our new publication on the book of Babu Rao Painter, the great pioneer, who's really one of the greatest. I would say filmmaking didn't begin from Phalke. Phalke was the original, but if you're really talking about creative ideas and thoughts, it began from Babu Rao Painter, from Kolkata. Our vision is to build world-class moving image. This is what we are planning with the film industry, and think we hope that we will be able to reach our vision of this planned site, which will house the Center for Learning on Archiving and Preservation and Research, which would be situated little out of Mumbai. So lastly, I'd just like to say that India has a singular cinematic legacy that is endangered. What is lost, we need to find. What is there, we need to restore. And what we create, we need to preserve. It's time we recognize cinema as a national treasure, one that must be saved and protected. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Any questions anybody wants to ask? I'm happy to answer. Yes. Of course, sir.
Question. You mentioned mentioned about Gulzar Saab assisting Bimal Roy in
Yes.
Well, Kabuliwala was directed by Hemant.
Yes,
Gupta and
that's
not by
right.
Bimal Roy.
That's right. It was produced by him.
Production.
Yeah.
Gulzar Saab, as far as I know, started with assisting Bimal Roy with Sujata. And number two is that the cause of film preservation and restoration is a very important thing, agreed. But who do you think will pay the enormous costs for the restoration of each film? Film Heritage Foundation or others can't do that.
Yeah.
Isn't it the duty of producers?
Yeah, I think, so answering your first question, Gulzar Saab was with Hemant Gupta on the set of Kabuliwala and he worked on that. Gulzar Saab started his career with Bandhani. So that was earlier in thing where he also wrote Mura Mura Anglai. So that's all. But coming to the fact that, yeah, that's a big worry, Ranjindra. I also want to say that Mr. Ranjan Das Gupta is, he's one of the few people who's responsible for putting film preservation really on the map. As much as I'd like to thank him for that because he's been instrumental in doing that. But funding for an NGO like ours is a problem. One of the big problems which we have is we presume that everything should be done by the government. That's the way. ये problem है government को करना चाहिए, वो problem है government को करना चाहिए. And saying all this, it has become such a bad, my team just went, Shah Rukh had acquired a film, Arjun, that's right, Arjun, Shah Rukh Khan, he was very fond of the film. But what we went and saw was melted Arjun. And then completely melted, nothing exists, believe me, nothing exists. What exists is a DVD kind of a copy. Beta cam, okay, which he bought it so that he could use it on these television and thing, but television won't accept it unless it's a certain format now. Arjun, which is a popular, successful film of Sunny Deol, who's standing for elections today in Gurdaspur. I wish he had paid a little more time to save this film, Let's hope. Yeah, let's hope that. Yeah. So unfortunately, we have lost Arjun completely, and we went and checked that. The team went and checked that particular print, and this is what is happening of the latest. So there is a problem with funding. The producers should pay, and that is the whole problem we face day and night. When recently we acquired even Mr. Buddhadev Das Gupta's film, they were lying in terrible conditions in Prasad Labs, Uttara. The original negative, 2 prints, then even Girish Kasarwadi's films, or so many filmmakers, Mandi. And now if any of you want to see a Shyam Benegal film in a theatre, I doubt whether you can see it. You can see it on a DVD, for sure. But in a theatre, how do you watch it? You need to digitize the film, to be of a certain format, because the theatres take only 4K today, or even 2K they can take. But none of his films are digitized. So only his digital films. So if you want to watch Mandi or Manthan or any of those films, I'm sorry, you cannot watch it. You'll have to watch it on a DVD projection. That is why even Blinky Roy is showing Bimal Roy's films, Madhumati, on a DVD. Madhumati on a DVD. And V.K. Murthy, who's donated all his material to us, including his light meters and everything. That was one of the most sweetest moments because Govind Dhanani came with me to collect the material from his daughter, and he carried his bag right till the end, saying that as an assistant, I used to carry V.K. Murthy's bag. The man who shot Kagas Ke Phool and Saab Bibi, not Saab Bibi Gulam, but Pyasa. He used to always say, where did you watch my film? He would ask me, you watched it on internet? I said, no sir. My work is not good there. Because it all looks the same. The contrast which Guru Dutt used to light up and shoot with, are you going to judge that on the damn DVD? Or the man who spent hours learning and filming and watching it on celluloid and showing it on a big screen? So that is the sad part. And even in West Bengal where we are sitting here, we have lost so much. Where are the films? Only way. Because international fame, acclaim, everything. So there are enough people. But you've had so many prolific filmmakers here. I mean, there's so many of them. What about their films? And that's the big problem for a foundation like ours. That we've just got too much to handle. Just now we're looking into Zuni, we're looking at Uttra, we're looking at Mandi. The negatives are all in their bad conditions. We need to digitize them, we need to find funds. Producers are not willing to pay the money, they rather let it die. We had an interesting mail from a producer where the foundation charges sometimes, not with all cases, am I right? Only on certain exceptions with producers make money, that please pay us 100 rupees for keeping the cans. 100 rupees, right? You know what the producer said, one of the biggest international producers, I'd rather let it die than give the 100 rupees. So then we took the call, I said don't pay, we'll preserve it. So it's a mission for all of us, picking up cans from here with health, with everything, when they smell of vinegar syndrome. So yes, Dada, I mean, I know that you've been very concerned about this because he's been a well-wisher of mine, and this question has come more from a concern point of view than anything else. But I think we will find a way, and that is why the public is very important for us. Because finally these films are accessible by public. And the more they see these films, the more interest they show, it will happen at some point of life. Mr. Bachchan takes a lot of interest, and we've had other people from the film industry, so I'm sure. Yeah. Any more questions, please?
The print of English Guide.
Yeah.
Scripted by Paul Buck and Devanand's first Indo-US co-production.
Yeah.
Has just recently been discovered in a laboratory in New York. It was missing, and Devanand had been desperately looking for it. As well as the print of the English version of Teen Devia, Oh Boy and Three Girls. So, would you like to take over the charge of preserving them?
Yeah. If they approach us, and also if Sunil Anand doesn't keep it under his bed, which he's done to all his major negatives and refusing to part with it, they're going to one day end with those negatives. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this fascinating, absolutely fascinating lecture. I have two questions. One is that as you showed us that the restoration is such a laborious, time-consuming and painstaking process. How much of it is driven by technology, and what's the importance? What is the role of hand skills into it? I'm asking this because we are a museum and we depend a lot on hand skills in restoration and conservation of paintings. You showed us labs in Bologna, and much of this, as I understand, is technology driven. But what is the role of hand skills, and what is the kind of pool of people who are skilled enough and trained to do it in India?
Yeah.
Right. That's the first one, and the other one is funding. Of course, is a major issue, and I'm saying this in the context of a crisis. This has become a much discussed thing in Kolkata. One of the local museums, which has a great collection of folk art, the Guru Sadar Museum, is threatened with closing down because of stoppage of.
I am aware of that.
Yes. And so there is a campaign to crowdfund its survival. So because it's about film heritage, and obviously this is something that concerns all corporate sector. So how much access do you have to corporate social responsibility, to crowdfunding? I saw your posters called Donate Now. Yeah. How responsive are the people and the other sectors to that kind of fundraising activities?
Yeah. I'll answer Dr. Singh, the first one. The initial stage of restoration starts with film repair. And we were very fortunate that the best person in film repair in the world was a lady called Mariana. She came here. And that's completely hand job. It's like an artist. And I wish people who came, I think you came and people came, you would see her as if she's working on a painting. So that repair cannot happen without the use of hands, because that's the first step. And that means your repair of your celluloid, where you change. And if you come to an archive where two people, Malvika and Praveen, who are working on for film conservators who work on repairing the film, that means exactly like how you saw, the sprockets to be changed, looking at every frame, cleaning the frame, seeing the image, this thing, that's completely driven by that. The fact that when it goes to scanning, a lot of people have the misconception, and that is where the big problem in India is, where we are fighting. Scanning is exactly like a Xerox. We send a peon जाके Xerox करके लाओ. कभी वो सीधा लाता है, कभी वो टेढ़ा लाता है, कभी वो करता है. Here also in our scanning, we have put our peons there. Because all these jobs, even in film repair, were done by people really not passionate. I mean, that is what we were trying to create. We were trying to create with our workshops job opportunities and people to come forward. So scanning is exactly like a DOP kind of a mindset, where you are scanning each frame. And different scanners, like if you have an ARRI scanner, which is one of the best scanners, or you have different scanners give you different timings and different ways, and some scan frame by frame per second or whatever. The exposure and the latitude has to be followed. So you require a certain amount of artistic interpretation, which is what these foreigners have. That they get some of the people who may not be fully artists, but they have to have a knowledge of the way the film will be looking in terms of the contrast, in terms of many of the things, as opposed to one light button which is switched. One light button which switches is, a very interesting example was that Rene, who was one of the great filmmakers whom I deeply admire, his one film, he said, I never lit up that man on that screen, he was dark. Suddenly I'm seeing him in this restored version. Because the camera pulls back, and in one of his films, and suddenly you see this dark shadow, and suddenly you see him now lit up from the back and thing. And that is where the problems have arisen. That was not the colorist. That was how the film was scanned. So scanning is your very, very extremely important artistic medium, which you need the right people. And otherwise, anybody can scan. It's as simple as a Xerox. Once you're taught, it's on. So film restoration is a very large component of hands-on kind of a thing. Right from when you put it in the lab, when you're rescuing it, the film repair, to the scanning, and what about accessibility, when you're taking it out to the public? You've got such brilliant film historians. I mean, I know Cecilia, who works with the Chaplin project. They restored Chaplin, they restored Buster Keaton, and how they brought this people out, and it was through their writings, through their work,